Hi guys, I just want to talk about some second passport options for BNO citizens. The situation is difficult in Hong Kong, and there has been a threat by the Chinese government. It's been articulated in a number of ways, but including here. So it's just an extract from a recent article that Peng, a member of the Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macao Studies, told the Global Times on Thursday that if the UK insists on implementing the new policy, China could further ban BNO holders from travelling to China, including the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. In other words, if Hong Kong residents chose to hold the BNO passport, they would have to abandon the HKSAR passport, Fan said, noting that it would be a tough choice for Hong Kong residents. So there is the potential for a situation where if you had to choose between your BNO passport and HKSAR passport, you might be in a position where effectively you wouldn't be able to return to Hong Kong, or possibly wouldn't be able to leave Hong Kong if this threat or potential set of consequences was implemented. So in light of that, I just want to talk about some potential second passport options that could be available. And I think where these are useful is, if, for example, you're going for the UK route and applying for the new BNO status, perhaps initially with leave outside of the rules, and then switching into the BNO status from January onwards, or if you haven't been here for 6 months for last 12, then simply coming here now and then switching in country into the BNO route. You're still going to need a bridging period potentially, as I say, in this scenario, and therefore a second passport would be potentially needed, potentially crucial in that situation. So I just want to show you what those second passport options would include. And at the moment, I was talking about this in a different connection the other day on YouTube. So St. Lucia at the moment is offering a St. Lucian passport within 3 months on the basis of a purchase of $250,000 equivalent in non-interest bearing government bonds. Now, normally a government bonds option is not available, simply because it's difficult to justify on policy grounds when the investment isn't at risk. But that is clearly quite attractive from an investor's point of view. But what a couple of my clients have done is applied either for Dominica or St. Kitts on the donation basis, which is more straightforward in the sense you don't have to have an investment that you then relinquish later on. And this is the passport that's generally processed within 3 months, and that's the advertised time. I think it takes usually from 3 to 6 months. An investment into the Economic Diversification Fund, or in the case of St. Kitts, an investment into the Sustainable Growth Fund. Now, I've put on this table, feel free to email me if you want a copy of this table, the travel options, including for Hong Kong, because all of these countries, at least as advertised by the relevant governments, again, please bear in mind the disclaimer that law may change from the time of making this video, and this is just for information purposes rather than legal advice, which you should take. But in each case, Hong Kong is advertised by each of the governments as being one of the over 100 countries in each case that you can access visa free. So you can enter Hong Kong on these passports independently of your status if you're a BNO. So especially if you're in a position where you had to relinquish your BNO passport, for example. So do have a think, or get ready to start thinking about your second passport options, just to hedge against the worst case scenario in terms of fallout with the the Chinese government. Now, one of the other points I wanted to touch on was in this video, I'll speak more about this in a separate video, but it's on the merits of coming to the UK as a Hong Kong citizen if you, as a BNO passport holder, and applying for leave outside of the rules. So at the moment, the document only, the BNO passport in itself only gives you 6 months, and it doesn't give you the right to work. It doesn't give, your children the right to study, but leave outside of the rules does. Now, therefore, there may be good reason now for applying for leave outside of the rules. But there are particular situations where you have to, and those situations are where during the 12 months in the lead up to 2021, you've had more than 6 months leave. Now, under the visitor rules for the UK, the test is not actually whether you've been here for 180 days, it's whether you've made frequent and successive visits amounting to residence. That's the formal test. Now, one of the markers of that is if you've been here for 6 months in a 12-month period, but it's a bit of a broader rule. Whereas with the BNO passport, you get 6 months in any 12-month period. So there's no equivalent test of frequent and successive visits amounting to residence, in effect amounting to making the UK your home. So for that reason, if you will have spent more than 6 months cumulatively in the UK in the lead up to 2021, then generally, subject to legal advice, you should be applying for leave outside of the rules to bridge that period between now and January 2021. So that's an important point to bear in mind. In other cases, it will be optional, and if you're in Hong Kong now, then you'll just be assessing, how bad are things going to get. Is it going to get to a position where BNO passport holders are not recognised, and are in a position where they have to consider whether or not to relinquish their BNO passport. In other words, is it worth coming to the UK now or not? Now, if you haven't been here for the last 6 months, and then you've got, two options. You can either come now under the leave outside of the rule provisions, and you'll need to do that if you need a right to work, or if your children coming under the same provisions and will need to study. But if you're not, if you're not in one of those two categories, then you can apply. You can simply exercise the permission that you already have under your BNO passport, and then switch into BNO status later on. Now, of course, the UK route, and the reason I made this video is the UK route doesn't result in a passport until year 6 potentially for BNO. So you do your 5 years plus 1, which is why you might want to consider one of the Caribbean passport options, where you have as I say, bridging passport that allows you to access Hong Kong even in a sort of worst case scenario. So yeah, anyway, it's an evolving process. Things are moving on fast. Feel free to touch base with me. Drop me an email if you want any help. Many thanks. Bye for now.